So this is more of a heads up or a public service announcement than it is a guide, but Solstice is back for the year. And normally it's not that huge of a deal. Tends to be pretty similar year over year. This time around though, Solstice is not only good, it is giving out higher tier loot than you would normally find when leveling. It also has 3 unique weapons, which we'll talk about for weapon rolls. For example, I am 306 power right now, which means a lot of my normal drops from regular grinding are dropping around a tier 3 level. However, portal activities that are dropping a Solstice engram will tend to drop these Solstice engrams at 1 tier higher than normal. So I've been getting a bunch of tier 4s. If you get a holofoil version, shiny version, whatever we're calling it, of an item, it will drop at 2 tiers above. So people in the low 300s could be seeing tier 5s when they normally wouldn't be seeing those for a while. Same with tier 4s. People in the 200s, you might be seeing tier 3s, maybe even potentially tier 4s as well. So it's pretty good. All you need to do is find which activities are giving out Solstice engrams and play those as much as possible if you wish to maximize your time on the game during this event. Every category has a Solstice rewarding activity, although I imagine many will find themselves in solo ops trying to speedrun whatever the solo speedrun of the day is. On the first day, it was Caldera, but it did not take much to get to an A rank. In the 300 range, I was able to put on just a single negative modifier, and as long as I did the optional challenge and I beat it in under 10 minutes, I was getting the A rank, no problem. While the levels from these engrams don't appear to be that good, just running the portal playlists, using the forge does give you some levels. Every time you make an armor piece for the first time on that character, that item is a power boosting drop. Again, per character. So I would at some point craft the armor from the forge to get this power bonus across all of your characters, especially for those of you beyond 400 power where levels are much more rare to see. Also, if you only want to see weapon drops as opposed to armor and weapon drops, don't start the quest if you haven't already. Whenever you make something from the forge, it enters the loot pool for potential items that you could get. I realize a lot of you probably have done this quest already, but if you haven't hopped on yet and you only want weapons, do not do the quest until much later in the event. The quest is per character though, so worst case scenario, you hop on another character for the event and grind all your weapons there, and then when you're happy, you can buy the armor. The event lasts for 2 weeks. Solstice is also filled with tons of gameplay modifiers that actually give slight score benefits despite them being positive, so be sure to double check those. A lot of them revolve around solar effects, solar damage, so try to take advantage of that if possible. Make a solar setup, right? There's also the Scorched PvP playlist, which has the Team Scorched rule set where everyone gets a cannon and that's it, but mixed in with other objective modes like Control or Rift, which I think is pretty cool. I do really like Scorched as a modifier in PvP because it is the most let loose, have fun kind of mode that we have in Destiny, and there's zero pressure. So even if you're not into PvP, I would not be too worried about taking Scorched seriously. The armor that's dropping also has its own set bonuses. While the 2-piece bonus is nice, receiving healing, increasing some weapon stats for a short time, the 4-piece bonus feels pretty ridiculous. Rapid solar final blows heal you. Now, it could be potential overkill for some builds out there that already have a lot of healing, but for something that happens passively in the background, that is a really, really good effect. Solar has a decent amount going on in the artifact this season too, so I don't think it's a terrible idea to try to build some kind of solar set, or at least get a few pieces in every slot and then figure something out after the event is over. All right, now let's talk about the 3 weapons that are coming with Solstice 2025. We're going to start with Festival Flight, which is a Strand Area Denial GL. Not too many of these in the game just yet. I think we have, like 3, now 4. What have we historically been going for on these GLs, right? We've been going for auto-loading effects. We've been going for stuff like Ambitious Assassin with multiple shots without having to reload, anything like that. Velocity Baton was kind of like in its own category because it was used as an orb printer with attrition orbs, but that is not really a thing anymore. Bungie said they weren't going to nerf it that badly, and I feel like people have said it did get nerfed that badly, so right now attrition orbs kind of just sitting on the bench. Although you could get like repulsor D-stab on velocity baton, but again, that's kind of its own thing. So what are we doing here? Is there any way to kind of replicate that auto-loading type effect that we've had on Lost Signal? I mean, we do literally have Ambitious Assassin on here if you want to go that route, if you like using Psychopomp in that way. Envious Arsenal, to me, is not necessarily a moment-to-moment gameplay type perk, unless that's just how you play the game. For me, it is not. I am not constantly rotating through all my weapons in moment-to-moment gameplay. So I wouldn't be taking, like, it looks very enticing because it's a very good perk. But yeah, outside of boss damage setups, I'm personally not using Envious Arsenal too much. What else do we have going on here? We have Ambitious Assassin, which is pretty good, right? Being able to shoot multiple shots without having to reload, that's very nice. Demolitionist, kind of very similar effect. Throw a grenade, you get your automatic reload on the weapon. Any sort of grenade builds, you might want to be taking a look at this. Although, grenade builds also might want to be taking a look at Blast Distributor, where splash damage grants bonus to your grenade stat, and this can stack up pretty high. I think my main thing here would be, like, obviously make sure you're running some sort of grenade build, but also make sure that, like, when you have this fully active, you're not going to be over 200 grenade stat. Anything over 200 of a stat is completely wasted. So if you are going to go for Blast Distributor, maybe go 150, 160 grenade, you know, like give yourself that room to kind of grow, but not like fully, like don't waste your stats, right? And then Slice is also something I think maybe some people could consider. It's always a perk that I've thought of as like being pretty good because Sever is just an insanely good effect to have on like everything. But I think this depends on like how you can kind of rotate this in with whatever you're doing, right? If you're doing more of like a support role where it's like Slice and maybe Attrition Orbs kind of comes back to life, right? Then some sort of Slice Attrition Orbs could be kind of neat, printing orbs and then kind of debuffing everything for your team with high class stat. There's some potential with Slice here as well. In the second column, I think Binary Orbit's actually like a pretty good pick as long as your weapons are aligned to make this work, right? You're shooting your primary, you see a big target, you switch to this thing, boom, 25% bonus damage and after a kill, and you can just spray this wherever you need to spray it to kill something, right? Frenzy is just always globally, like, it's rarely the best thing, but it's almost never the worst thing to have. Like, if Frenzy is the only thing you came away with from this event, okay, that's fine. Like, Frenzy's still pretty good, right? One for All definitely has a lot of potential here because it is an area denial, so you can kind of spread that damage if you kind of like, you know, like a damn fire hose, right? And there's a lot of activities that have a lot of stacked up enemies. So being able to trigger One for All in a single shot is really the ultimate goal for pretty much any weapon or any weapon like this that's like a single shot thing. So I do think One for All is like definitely not a bad selection here either. Vorpal weapon for day-to-day regular use, I'm gonna say no. But if you are doing some kind of boss damage setup and this is like the best you can do, then okay, because I mean it's similar to Frenzy, right? You're probably not gonna be able to proc One for All on a boss fight unless there's a bunch of ads spawning. Same with Binary Orbit, you're probably not getting kills. Hatchling, you're not getting kills. Attrition Orbs, maybe you're doing something there, but like, yeah, Vorpal weapon is like, it's boss only, and even then, like, I'm not too crazy about it. Attrition Orbs, as we've discussed already, not really doing the same thing that it was doing. I can understand if you maybe wanted to have one with Attrition Orbs in case Bungie's like, okay, maybe we went a little too hard on that one. You can keep Attrition Orbs. Hatchling, I mean, you're only getting like half of the effect of this perk, right? Like, you can't get precision final blows with this thing. And Hatchling to me is just still kind of like one of the weaker subclass weapon perks out there. So I guess if you have like a super threadling build and you really want to run this thing, like, now at least you have the option. But personally, it's still a little bit of a pass for me. And then Elemental Honing is more for the prismatic players out there. If you're not running prismatic, I would probably not be touching Elemental Honing. I think you can get very similar benefits from like Frenzy and One for All for way less work without having to like cycle through all of your weapons or use a bunch of different abilities, stuff like that. But if you are on Prismatic, it is not that difficult to stack up Elemental Honing. You just need to make sure that you're also able to take advantage of how much time you're getting with this perk, right? Like it lasts a very long time and it gives you a good amount of bonus damage. So maybe you want to combine that with like a demolitionist for a lot more reloads. Maybe you do end up using it with Envious Arsenal to just kind of rotate through your weapons and spam a lot of shots, right? But either way, prismatic. If you're not running prismatic, I don't know how much I'm really touching elemental honing. Next up, we have Yeartide Apex, which is a 900 RPM solar SMG. I mean, you're probably already seeing Heal Clip Incandescent, and you know what? If you're happy with that, go crazy, right? It's a very, very good combo. I know SMGs aren't necessarily in the meta right now. Let's go enhance with this, by the way, because I assume basically everybody's going to have an enhanced version of this. Yeah, it's a very solid setup. You know, there's also Burning Ambition, dealing sustained damage more quickly, scorches the target. This I would consider more of like an end game perk, along with another perk that we're going to talk about here in a sec, where you want to like be fighting things that can actually live a very long time, so that you can actually apply scorch stacks and then potentially ignite them. The only issue with this is like we don't really have that many things that allow you to keep shooting for longer, other than the origin trait. The origin trait is called Dream Work. Once per reload, assists or assisted final blows partially refill the weapon from reserves and increase reload speed, right? So that's at least like a little something to help out with Burning Ambition, but otherwise, like Feeding Frenzy is like the only kind of thing, and I think Feeding Frenzy is not like spectacular of a perk anymore. So yeah, I don't know how much I'm leaning towards Burning Ambition, but I understand it's a new perk, and people might just want to play around with it. And if that is your prerogative, go crazy. I'm not going to stop you. Binary Orbit and Harmony kind of being like very similar effects, but I don't like these kind of effects on primary weapons because they should be out the majority of the time. So you're probably not switching to them, but like, it's not like it's impossible to make these work, right? Like you take out a shotgun, kill something really fast, switch back to your SMG. Now you got a bunch of boosted damage. It's not like the worst idea in the world if you wanted to go that route. Then we got Chaos Reshaped showing up for, I think, the first time outside of Salvation's Edge weapons. But this to me is more of an end game perk. It is similar to Frenzy. You don't get the reload speed bonus, but it's like Frenzy and then like Frenzy again if you stay in combat for a long enough time. In lower tier content, Fireteam Ops, you know, maybe even some solo ops where it feels like a lot more running or just very, very fast paced gameplay. I don't know how much you're really going to be able to even get Chaos Reshaped to activate to that second tier, which is where you really want it, where you're getting the 35% increased damage and you're getting that periodic boost to healing, right? It's more of an endgame thing where you're staying in combat for much longer periods of time, where you're not killing things super fast and you're not running all over the place. You're kind of hunkering down in a spot and able to kind of, you know, do your thing for a little while. So that's where I would consider Chaos Reshaped, is if I'm bringing it into some more endgame stuff where I know I'm going to be able to just sit on a target for a little while. But again, yeah, SMGs, not super crazy right now, but I do think they will have their time at some point soon. Finally, we have Fortunate Star, which is a precision frame void bow. I feel like we have had quite a lot of void bows recently, or maybe it was just the one from last season. I'm not really sure. Either way, if you are a bow enjoyer, I feel like you got your pick of the litter on this thing. We got Dragonfly, we have Repulsor, D-Stab if you want to do that. We have Archer's Tempo, we have Successful Warm-Up, we have Demoralize, which I think is kind of like a neat thing. You have Archer's Gambit on here, you have Precision Instrument on here, Explosive Head is on here, even Sword Logic is on this thing, usually not showing up in too many places outside of Crota's End, although this is not the first time it's shown up. So you have quite a lot of things to pick from. Even if you want to go impromptu ammunition, Final Blows give you ammeter progress for a little bit. Like all the really good bow stuff is on this bow. It's just, are you a bow enjoyer? I have a very difficult time being like, oh, here's what we should do for bows, because I don't feel like that many people are using bows that much, and people who are using bows probably know what's good. And a lot of stuff on here is really good. It just depends on what you personally like. Do you want to go more void heavy with it? You can go Repulsor, D-Stab. Do you want more of a, just a traditional bow? You could go Archer's Tempo with like Precision Instrument, Explosive Head. You could even go Archer's Gambit. I know people like Archer's Gambit, right? So this just depends on like what direction do you want to go in. I don't think there is a right answer. There's only your answer. So those are your 3 weapons from Solstice. I think this is the end of the video. I don't think I have anything else to say. So get in there, go get your tier 4s, get your tier 5s. You got 2 weeks, maybe a little less than 2 weeks to go do it. This is a great way to farm up some of this higher tier stuff without really that much of a hassle compared to where we are right now, where things are, maybe needing to be picked up a little bit, pick up the speed a little bit. But head on into Solstice. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.